Hello, everyone. Ben Jose, Black Wolf Untitled Podcast. Special Sunday afternoon edition. This ought to be a short one. For those that have been listening, thank you, first of all. But you probably hear me say that a lot. And today we're actually going to try. We are going to talk about a little nutrition, okay? So yesterday we had our first Saturday event, first Saturday of every month. We open our doors to the community at 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. with free workouts for everybody. Gives people an opportunity to come into a intimidating space, being the kind of CrossFit-style warehouse gym, with the knowledge and the confidence that other people just like them will be showing up. And so we had 33 visitors yesterday among our very own athletes, and that I think we took that up to 76 bodies in this space, not including the team of coaches. So we had a great event. After the event, I had about 10 people sitting inside the office with me, and we were just doing a little nutrition talk, kind of going through a presentation and then taking question and answers. So what I wanted to do today was pass along 4 points, four of the main points, kind of the takeaways that I believe those people took away and we discussed afterwards. And I think that they'll help kind of get your mindset right for the week ahead, as well as maybe, hopefully, set you up to make some lasting changes in your nutrition. But also, if you kind of dig deeper on these points, it's really life lessons, not just nutrition lessons. What works in one area of life generally works in another area. It might take a slightly different form, but tools are tools, folks. And so when we pick up a new tool that serves us well at home, it probably can also serve us well at work, or whatever we want to get into. So again, easy, simple nutrition points that I really do think set you up. And what you're going to notice is there's not going to be a lot of detail on what to eat, in terms of, hey, if you don't eat spinach, you're going to die. Because it's not true. And also, that gets us caught in the weeds. And that was one of the big things I wanted to avoid in the presentation yesterday, and that's what we talked about a lot. It's almost human nature for things to be complicated. We want life to be hard. We hate that life is simple. And I believe that, at least in my own life, most of the things that I have struggled with the most, I have known the answer the whole time. The struggle came from not wanting to execute on the answer, maybe not having the confidence to execute, or feeling very alone in those moments. But alas, at the end of the day, I still knew the answer. And I believe that's true of most of us in most situations. That is not to say there's never been a situation where the answer has not been transparent or available. Certainly those situations arise, but I have found in my interactions with my athletes and my personal struggles that oftentimes the things that have caused the greatest episodes often were what I probably could have avoided, because I was very conscious of the decision I needed to make. Nutrition is no different. Nutrition is not complicated. It doesn't make it easy, but it is not complicated. Nutrition is simple, okay? So with CrossFit, you need to look up an article. It's titled Fitness in 100 Words. Fitness in 100 Words. It was written by Greg Glassman, the CEO and founder of CrossFit, and it was written way back in the early 2000s. And what's funny, as you read it, specifically these lines on nutrition, you're going to see that, wow, it's 2018, and these words have never been more true. And this he wrote before CrossFit was what we know today to be CrossFit. It was before the success. This was a man that was exploring how to get the bullshit out of fitness, out of health and wellness in the early 2000s, and now he has built literally a machine that is doing that at every level. And so go back and read that Fitness in 100 Words, and in it you'll find 2 sentences, okay? The sentence we're going to focus on is the first one, which is you need to be it says eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. So eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Sorry, I always try to say that from memory, and so I go really, really slow. And so that was point number 1 yesterday. Keep it simple, okay? Embrace the simplicity of it, all right? When we want it to be difficult, when we're like, well, if I don't get enough acai berry, okay, then I won't have the superfood that Cosmo wrote about last month. If I'm not carb cycling, if I'm not intermittent fasting, if I'm not chasing ketosis, then it's not even worth me eating well, okay? And that's where we live in this world where you start tomorrow. Tomorrow's a Monday, and you're like, I am healthy AF. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to take on intermittent fasting while in ketosis, while also fasting for the weekends, and I'm only going to have sugar on Sundays, while also making sure my alcohol is only through 100% agave tequila, because that's healthy, and yada yada. Stipulation after stipulation, because that's the only way to be healthy. You get to Monday afternoon, and you're all in on a box of donuts. Well, that wasn't good. So, what can we do? We can keep it simple. We can appreciate consistency over complexity. We can appreciate that if we can simply add a few more vegetables tomorrow and reduce our sugar intake a little bit, that we are in a much better place than we were just the day before. And so I want you to focus tomorrow, today as well, but people, we like Mondays, okay? So focus tomorrow. Finish today how you plan to. Focus tomorrow on those lean meats and those vegetables, all right? That's the foundation of all of our meals, including breakfast, all right? And then from there, we're going to add a little bit of fruit. Fruit ultimately is a sweetener for us, okay? We incorporate fruit into our diet because it gives us flavor. Man cannot live on meat and vegetables alone. Side note, you can. But a normal person, a person that still has somewhat of a soul that enjoys entertainment to some degree, is going to want flavor, okay? And so that's where fruit comes in. However, if we are going to pretend that fruit has a whole list of nutrients we can't find elsewhere, we are lying to ourselves. So that is why the vegetables are so important, all right? Fruit comes in, it does deliver nutrients. We just need to stop acting as if it is the end-all be-all, because we can get those nutrients elsewhere. So we're going to look at fruit. Our apples, our bananas, our berries, not including strawberries, and our cherries, not candy maraschino cherries, okay, legit cherries that you could theoretically grow yourself. All right, we're gonna focus mainly there. Now, if you get some melon, all right, if you go get some oranges or a tangerine or grapefruit, are you being unhealthy? No, okay? But what we have found is that apples, bananas, berries, and cherries, the balance between the sugar and the nutrients available, the fiber content available, we like it, okay? As you get away from that list, it's, the sugar goes up, maybe the nutrients go down. Melon, it's melon water, all right? I'm sorry, it's sugar water. Melon water, duh. Melon is sugar water, okay? And that's really, really oversimplified, but to be eating a whole bunch of cantaloupe and going like, I'm healthy, well, sure, healthier than eating Snickers, duh, absolutely, better than a Coke, duh, absolutely. But if you had blackberries and raspberries, you'd be getting a lot more thorough nutrient profile, okay? And so it's not to vilify any fruits. Grapes, everybody's making fun of me, sugar bullets, okay? Grapes are sugar bullets, just nice little pod-sized deliveries of sugar. Again, great. Good for flavor. I like frozen grapes for dessert. I think it's awesome. But I'm not going to eat a whole mess of grapes and then bounce around like I'm healthy AF. So, apples, bananas, berries, and cherries there. Okay? Starches. What's a starch? That's a carb-dense food, okay? So we're looking primarily vegetables. We're going to call sweet potatoes, potatoes of any kind really, as well as squashes, carb-dense vegetables, all right? That simply means that they have a different carb profile than, say, broccoli. If I eat broccoli, the carbs barely register on my FitnessPal when I'm logging it. But if I eat a sweet potato, I get a significant amount of carbohydrates there. Now, we don't want to overdo it, especially if we are not living very active lifestyles, but those starches should be present daily, okay? For those that need a few more carbohydrates in their diet, that's where we go to white rice, all right? Simple, again, simple. But Ben, what about brown rice? What if I told you, okay? Or what if I reminded you? I'm not the one telling you. This is out there. Everybody smarter than me has already said it. Plants have defense mechanisms, okay? Things that are grown have defense mechanisms. The same way that animals don't want you to kill them, so some animals can fight you, some animals can run, some animals can run you over. Those are defense mechanisms to allow them to survive, okay? Plants have the same thing. And so with rice, when everybody pushes for brown rice, what if I told you that outer layer that causes it to be brown, all right, it actually is what is problematic or potentially problematic in the digestive tract. And the rice is eventually going to be stripped down, for oversimplification purposes, is white rice. So what we do with white rice is we simply get straight to the point. We don't cause our body to have to go through any extra work to strip the rice down. We take it in its simplest form, all right? So we do like white rice, but again, white rice can get away from us very, very quickly. Time after time, we've seen white rice introduced into people's diets, and it's damn near a gateway drug. And I don't know what the correlation there is, but people that introduce white rice without a plan, they are the ones that often a week later are letting me know that, whoops, that box of donuts was easy to eat, or whoops, I might not be so strict on what I'm doing anymore. So be very intentional, and you can live without it. You can live without it. You don't need a high carb diet, okay? So if you have any questions, or if you're trying to get into this for the first time, let's isolate this. Let's keep this to some sweet potatoes, maybe some white potatoes. Again, if you're back from the early 2010s where we vilified white potatoes, everybody was wrong on that. Everybody. So white potatoes, nothing wrong with them, okay? Side note, potato fries, okay? Sweet potato fries, white potato fries, whatever. The issue is not that they're potatoes, so you can be self-righteous like, oh, I'm eating sweet potatoes. But if they're frying it in a bunch of cheap oil, it's not great. So let's back off of that, okay? So starches are going to be our potatoes and our squashes. Get a little bit of that in there. And then we don't want any sugar, all right? No added sugar, no processed foods, no highly refined carbohydrates. So we're going to keep it simple, okay? And we're going to finish our meals with drinking water or tea. That's going to be ideal for us on the beverage side. Anything else is going to get us a little farther and farther away from the ideal health that we're looking for. So again, most of your beverages should be water for sure, all right? We like to say 1 ounce of water for every 2 pounds of body weight as a guideline, not a rule. Don't get stressed out about that, but get near it, okay? Things that dictate water consumption, are you out in the heat a lot more than others? Okay, well then you need more water, plus you probably need to put some sea salt in your water to make sure you're balancing your electrolytes, and don't drink Gatorade. We just said water. Don't go get Gatorade. It is not magic. It is sugar, all right? And then if you're sitting inside all day, the actual trick's the other thing. You oftentimes don't realize you need more water. So no, you don't need as much water as someone that's doing labor out in the sun, or someone that's just in a hot environment, but you still need it. And it's oftentimes harder for you because you don't realize the body's not sending you signals. Maybe you don't feel thirsty, but we do want to shoot for that 1 ounce of water for every 2 pounds of body weight. Black tea, black coffee. Basically, if you could theoretically go harvest the product yourself, so the leaves or the beans, and you could get it into drink form, it's good to go. But if it requires a factory of processes, then it's not good to go. So keep that. Point number two, it took work to get where you are. So you need to respect that work, or I'm sorry, respect the work it will take to get where you want to be. What we meant by that, we discussed it, and we had a lot of people that wanted to lose weight. We also had people that simply wanted to be healthier while they maintained their body weight. Wherever you're at, you work to get there, okay? So if I'm 30 pounds overweight, that didn't happen by accident. All right, I was consistent in my lifestyle choices that led to that weight gain. All right, if I'm carrying a bunch of weight around with me every day, I am consistent in my lifestyle choices that allow for my body to find homeostasis at that body weight. Okay, at the same time, we know that there's work to do to get where we want to be. We see this as the only work that exists. So what I want to condition you to believe is that there is work that gets us in good places, but there's equally work that gets us in bad places, okay? You don't end up in bad spots without consistently making choices that land you there, okay? And so this should allow you to be more patient. If you spent the last 20 years treating your body like a theme park, then you can't be shocked that a six-week challenge, or for most of you, a week of healthy eating, isn't getting you back to 20 pounds down, 30 pounds down, okay? Be patient. You should not be ashamed of where you're at. You should not be ashamed that you're the reason you made choices to get where you're at. But if there's anything to be ashamed of, you should be ashamed of your lack of patience. Okay, maybe a lack of effort. So what I want you to do is recognize that you earned wherever you're at right now. You did, and we need to accept that. We are responsible for our lives. Nobody else is, okay? Victim mentality, you know who's never succeeded in this gym? People who are victims. People who say, hey man, a bunch of people did bad stuff to me, or hey, my parents didn't give me opportunity. People, even when that is true, and side note, there are a ton of people here who have stories that like would keep you up at night, okay? Stories of being abused, stories of not having opportunity. But guess what? The reason they're here, the reason they're able to put smiles on faces to where you don't even recognize that trauma in them is because they refuse to allow whoever did cause them to be a victim to have that power now. They're taking responsibility for their life. And so, take responsibility for yours, all right? Make the choices. Be excited that just as you were responsible for getting yourself to this, what you're going to consider a negative place, you are also going to be the only reason you get out of that negative place, okay? I can help. All right, my team can help. The amazing community here can help you. But at the end of the day, you did it. All right, we don't need to be politically correct and have you thank everybody that's ever touched your life, because at the end of the day, yes, be grateful for those, but it was your choice to stay the course. It was your choice to take this on. Okay, so respect the fact that you had done the work to get you in the bad spot, and that will help you respect the fact that the good work's going to get you out of it. Okay, point number 3. One of the most useful tools that we've kind of come across, and again, come across meaning, hey, guess what? They've been writing since a long time ago, okay? Writing, remember, like things in caves and all that stuff. Writing is not something new. However, using it in this space, we know to track our food on MyFitnessPal or things like that. But what if I said, okay, what if I just introduced the idea that regardless of whether you want to track food or not, and there's a huge benefit to tracking your food, but there's also the chance of you misaligning your priorities if you do so. So what if I said that regardless of whether you're tracking or not, if you simply wrote down all the food you ate each day, okay, so as you're eating it, carry a notebook. They make these things small now. I got one right in front of me right now that I keep in my pocket, my back pocket. Write down whatever you're eating, okay? Because there's something about writing down 8, 10 pieces of pizza that at least calls your attention to it when the chance to eat 10 pieces of pizza comes up again, okay? So even if you've already consumed it, write it down. Make a practice of recording your food. You can use MyFitnessPal for this, but don't get married to the numbers. Don't get stressed out about that, okay? Write it down. I remember, and speaking of MyFitnessPal, where this really shocked me, I used to get Chick-fil-A, the #1, so what, the chicken sandwich with a fry, and then I would get, who knows on the day, okay, let's, sweet tea normally. I'm pretty big on sweet tea, being from Texas and all, or an Arnold Palmer, or occasionally even just a Coke, okay? But I get it, it'd be large. These things would be large. Now, it's not hard to believe that those are not healthy. I know that ordering it, okay? It's not hard to believe that it even doesn't have a place in your diet weekly, okay? But those are words. Those are words, and those are words also that are dangerous because we already accept them. We're like, yeah, duh, it's not healthy as we're eating it. Because words that we've accepted a long time ago and that we no longer think about, they don't cause change, okay? So one day we were, I don't know why I did it. Maybe we were on a challenge. I was logging a cheat meal, but for whatever reason, I decided to log in MyFitnessPal my value meal from Chick-fil-A. And the calorie total alone has now, and I don't think it happened from this day, but this goes to, it plants the seed. I haven't been to Chick-fil-A. Okay, a few weeks ago, I did get to eat some French fries from there. But I have not gone through that drive-thru in my normal routine, and embarrassing, it was normal. I don't think I've been to Chick-fil-A since December, and we're in August, okay? And that was something I was probably going to once a week. I was probably going to once a week on the weekend because that was supposed to be like my cheat meal, or that was my whatever. For those that know me also, that was also when I was gaining weight. And nobody decided to say, hey, Ben, you're fat. Because we don't talk like that. Well, hey, friends, maybe let your friends know that they're gaining some weight. Because then I woke up one day and I was like, ew. Anyways, this is a whole tangent, my bad. But it was recording my food that called my attention to just how terrible the error was, okay? And so I think writing it down goes a long way there. You know, a lot of us, we eat well. We feel that. Like when I ask you, when you've come to me and like, hey, man, how's your nutrition? 9 times out of 10, the answer is like, I do all right. And then it'll be followed with, I need to do some work. You know what I know? I know that your definition of all right is a little skewed, and I know that you also aren't lying to me. You're not intentionally lying. What's happening is, because the little stuff adds up through the week, you're not even aware of it. And so writing it down, you'll become aware of how many times you stop at the store on the way home from work, or how many times you go out to eat for lunch at work, or how many times you pick up a smoothie or something before work. All these things, if they happened once or twice a week, would be fine. But because they all happen, even if each of those things happen once, that's too many times. Okay, we can pick one or two of them that can happen once. Like, we can't have, I went out to eat 3 times this week, and then also I got snacks on the way home, and then also I got 2 fast food breakfasts. Well, yeah, you feel like you ate well because on those days you did have other meals that went well, but because you're not recording it, it's hard for you to remember. Our memories are trash, okay? Our memories are trash. I'm not talking about remembering names, all right? You're speaking to someone that is fortunate enough to work in an industry where I get to remember names every day. We've got like 70 to 80 people that come through here a day, and I know every single name. My team knows every single name. And so I have a good memory if that's how we're judging memories. But I'm not going to be struck if I had pizza on Tuesday this week and it's Sunday and I want to order pizza tonight. I might not recall that I had pizza on Tuesday. Okay, it might not even come across my mind, but I've been writing my food down, and these were study habits we learned in high school, right? They always said, you better memorize what you write down. And so if you're memorizing, like, I went to private school memorizing Bible verses. Okay, let's do something a little bit better there. When we had to memorize, like, Shakespeare. I remember memorizing Shakespeare, I think, in freshman year of high school. It might have been 8th grade, but somewhere around there. If you wrote it out while you were trying to recite it, it helped it stick, okay? And so writing stuff down, that's why when you take notes, like that's why we take notes, and why kids in college are like, no, I'll just get it from the professor's notes. They didn't do well. You want to know why? Because I was the kid that was just going to get it from the professor's notes. You want to know how I did in college? I got out, but that's about it, okay? That's about it. You know who did really, really well? People that took notes. Be like them. Don't be like me, okay? So we write stuff down, and it helps us remember things. It helps us stay on track. Also, and like, there's this thing where we're not supposed to like introduce disgust, but like there are some meals you'll eat or some cheats you'll have and you'll write it down and it'll disgust you. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I actually had that, okay? And so write your stuff down. And so we've talked so much about writing your food that you've already eaten. What I also want you to do, and I think this is incredibly powerful, I have some nutrition clients right now that are practicing this. Write down what you're going to eat, okay? Now, but Ben, I'm not an athlete, I don't post on Instagram. IFBB Pro is not in my Instagram handle. My name / my favorite movement's not my Instagram handle. My favorite movement plus a junk food's not my Instagram handle. I'm not an ambassador for a clothing company. All this stuff that like basically I'm mocking those that like think they're professional athletes. Guess what? You don't need to be a pro athlete to meal prep. I don't meal prep. All right. I don't have a bunch of containers in my fridge right now. Okay. And there's a couple reasons for that. But even if I lived in a real apartment and wasn't sleeping on the floor here, I wouldn't meal prep, okay? I never really have been good at it. I've cooked stuff ahead of time, and it does make it easier. But like a bunch of prepackaged meals, it doesn't work for me. But I also have a different schedule. I'm not stuck at work all day. Work is wherever the hell I want it to be, okay? So I'm able to cook in the middle of the day. So if you don't have that time, you do need to prepare ahead of time. I'm sorry that this is a responsibility of life, but like you are not going to do well eating out. And if you are doing well eating out, you probably shouldn't be listening to this, guys. So if you're listening to this and you've made it 20 minutes in, then you know that something's not right. We have to make a change. But let me give you a step before all-out meal prep, before you Amazon shop for a bunch of containers, which is the best way to get containers. Get on Amazon. They'll send you like 100 containers for very, very cheap. Write down what you're going to eat, okay? Write down what you're going to eat. And if you don't know specifically, write down where your food's going to come from. Like right now, okay? And if you want to do this day by day, wake up every morning and be like, all right, where's my food? What's breakfast this morning? You ought to be able to know what breakfast is since it's within the hour of you waking, okay? But like if you're going out to eat, yeah, I'm going to keep saying don't do it. Start to bring your own lunch. The people that you look up to, they pack their lunches, okay? If you write where the food's going to come from, it allows for us to avoid emotional decisions. Because if you wait to make your decision until you're walking out of the office with your friends, y'all are not going to make a wise decision. You're also not going to have the willpower to resist a bad recommendation. But if you've written down that you're going to go to Bella Green and you're going to get the chicken breast with the steamed vegetables or the roasted, actually it was roasted. I had a really good dish of, I want to say it was actually half a chicken and then roasted vegetables, and it was like broccoli, I think there's some sweet potato skewers on there. I'm not sure. Anyways, Bella Green's a great place to go for healthy food. If you haven't been resolute in doing that because you didn't write it down or you didn't plan on it, then when your friend wants to go to, I don't know, where do you kids go these days? Christian's Tailgate? I don't know. Do you go to that midday? That seems weird. Let's go chain restaurant. They want to go to Chili's. They want to go to Saltgrass, whatever, where it's not going to be quality food and it's not going to be a plethora of wise choices, then you're just going to fold, okay? Like fold like a card table. So write down where your food's going to come from. It's also going to help you because part of hunger is the fear of food not arriving. And I think that taps into primal nature, except again back to like, when was the last time, do you remember, I'm sorry, the question is, do you remember famine? No, of course you don't. We haven't had it. Okay, same issue there. Your body's hunger pangs are still telling you that you better be desperate for food, even though our current societal conditions means you could fall over into food. Okay, so make sure you take this opportunity, write down where your food's going to come from. I don't think anything has benefited my athletes more, benefited myself more, than writing down a plan for where the food's going to come from, even if that is not detailed as to exactly what I'm going to eat. I would say that if you know you're going to a restaurant and you're not good at this, I would go ahead and pick what I'm going to eat. Because eating a salad for lunch is really only possible if I've said all day I'm getting a salad for lunch. Very few of us have the willpower, and again, willpower, I think that's overrated. I think it's habit, okay? And there's a book I'm reading, Power of Habit, that speaks directly to that, okay? And I would encourage that book. But I believe that we rely on willpower, and when it fails, we shame ourselves. There should be no shame. What you should have done was instilled the idea that you were going to have the salad or you're going to have the roasted vegetables and chicken or whatever it is ahead of time, so that then on game day, in the moment when the waiter asks and there's all these other tempting dishes with better processed flavors available to you, you still say, no, man, I want this salad, I want this, and this, and I've been excited about it, man. I'm very excited about it, okay? So write down both what you are eating, like what you've eaten in the past, and then also write down where your food is going to come from. It's no different than making a to-do list every day. If you're not making a to-do list each day, like the top 3 things you're going to accomplish today, then you're really missing out there, all right? 2 more points. Point number 3, predict the obstacles, have a plan, all right? This came up yesterday, but it's funny because what they brought up also is coinciding with what I'm reading in this Power of Habit book. In the Power of Habit book, there's a lot of case studies that they talk about. And one of the things they said, because they were discussing willpower and its existence, they said willpower is a muscle. Relying on it is silly because you need to train it. And if you've never trained willpower, then it's not going to serve you well. So you have to train it. And the way you train it is you create better habits. Okay. So one of the things that the people that he discusses in the book is that in one of these studies, they found that patients or subjects who predicted their obstacles, predicted what would be tough to overcome in whatever they were taking on. So we'll use nutrition here. If you think that your coworker is going to tempt you to eat junk food, then go ahead and plan for that. What happens when Bob brings this fat ass in your office, your cubicle, and tells you that there's donuts in the break room and he wants to walk down there and get some with you? You know, what are you going to do? What's your reaction? You know, and maybe it is walking with Bob down there, but you're going to take your snacks with you. You know, maybe it's telling Bob to piss off. Okay, I don't know, Bob. I don't know your Bob, but whatever it is, have a plan. If you're a teacher and you know that you've got school's about to start and you're going to be teaching straight from 8 a.m. all the way through lunch, and then lunch you got to be in the cafeteria and you actually have a job in the cafeteria, it's not like you just get to sit and relax, then you're up against it. But guess what? That's your life. And guess what else? You chose that life. So you better make the best of it. And you better stop coming out of there going, Ben, it's out of my control, because it is in your control. So what snacks are you going to have on hand? Okay, what's your plan? How are you going to navigate your day? All right, so let's figure this out. Write down what the potential obstacle is going to be, and then go ahead and plan for those obstacles. Worst case scenario, the obstacle never comes up. But prepping for any obstacle generally allows us to handle all the obstacles better than we would. So take advantage of that. Last point number 4. Start simple, but sprinkle in the fancy. We brought this up with food specifically and recipes. I believe when we start something new, we ought to take it in its simplest form. So focus on getting some lean meats and some palatable vegetables in, get some whole fruits in there, things like that. But as you find your rhythm and you realize that you can do this, don't be afraid to get a little fancy here or there. But we see a lot of mistakes being made where the only way you're going to eat healthy is by getting the most complex recipes up front. And then when you run out of the time to fix those complex recipes, you're not able to function, okay? So I do think most of us need to come to terms with eating grilled chicken with steamed vegetables, okay? Throw some butter and sea salt on that stuff, and oh my gosh, that's delicious, okay? However, if you only eat grilled chicken and steamed vegetables, I remember my buddy John, he did a nutrition challenge way back in like 2010. He crushed it. He crushed it, okay? But you know what he ate every day? He ate grilled chicken and steamed vegetables. Every meal, every day for 5 weeks. You know what that man has not eaten since? Grilled chicken and steamed vegetables, okay? So we do need variation. Variety is the spice of life, yada, yada, okay? So make sure, introduce some dry seasonings, introduce some different vegetables, introduce some different meats, okay? So start simple, lay that foundation, get comfortable there, and then sprinkle in the fancy, all right? I want to get done with this. Per the usual, spoke a little bit too long. Have a wonderful evening. Jax and I are about to finally get some couch time. We're going to relax. We'll be back at it in the morning. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what's worked for you, okay? This nutrition thing is a journey for all of us, all right? So what has worked for you? What have your challenges been? Give those to me in the comments. Send them in an email. Ben, B-E-N, at blackwolfcf.com. I would love to hear from you. Have a great night. We will talk to you later.